Kylie Minogue.
Who's that?
It's karaoke. Kylie Minogue.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. So when I was like 6 years old, there was this thing you could do. There was this like birthday party thing, and it was just in Whitby, in like the small town of Ontario that I grew up in. And you could go to it, and it was called Wild FX. And at Wild FX, all they did was little kids' birthday parties. Actually very creepy. And you would go, and all of the kids would get to do like their hair and their makeup. And these people would do your hair like a pop star, quote unquote. But it was just, they would like spray paint it blue and put glitter in it. And so there's all these like 5-year-olds just looking like tramps. It's awesome. And then you would wear your best outfit. They wouldn't dress you because that would be too much money. So you would go to Wild FX with all your friends in your nicest outfit. And then they would spray paint the fuck out of your hair. Like, it was temporary spray paint, but I remember it lasting like a really long time. It would be like blue or purple or whatever. And then they would do like big spiky, like, I don't know, buns and weird braids and stuff. And then they would spray paint it. And it was always like, your hair was always sticking up in like a weird poof. Like it was like 2 large poofs of like spray painted hair, like all teased to fucking shit. And we just looked like these little harlots. And then they would do your makeup, and makeup was just Caboodle's glitter, which was like Claire's brand glitter that they would like shove all over your face. And then this person who, now that I think about it, was probably someone who went to school and was like, I'm going to be a dancer, and then ended up here, would teach us all how to do a dance to like a current and popular song. And then the parents would leave, and then they would come back, and we would show them our dance dressed as little sluts. And we'd be like, look at this dance. And it was like all these 6-year-olds with like spray painted hair covered in glitter, hair's teased out, like it's never getting brushed out, like the hair is fucked. There's like a random bead hanging off someone's like end of their hair, like a tassel. Someone has like a random like tiny little braid that's spray painted green, and then everyone else is like, everyone's hair is so weird. And we would go and do this. Oh, and we thought this was like the best thing we had ever discovered. This was like a birthday party place. It was so cool. There was like all these mirrors and vanities. It was like very 2000s, like poppy, and everyone just wore their best outfit. And then I remember we did a dance to that song, Can't Get You Out of My Head by Kylie Minogue. Classic. Kylie Minogue, amazing. We love her. She's still making bangers. She's literally a chart topper. She's amazing. But at the time, that was the song. And this probably like wannabe professional dancer who went back to her hometown to figure her life out, who got this job working at this place, she would teach us this like probably also slutty little dance where we would just be like la 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 la, all these 6-year-olds just like on stage like, I just can't get you out of my head. And then our parents are just sitting there eating pizza watching us, and we're like, look. And that was my like birthday party at age 6 or 8 or something.
You could sustain a business on that model?
No, it went out of business.
Oh,
of course. It is now a flower store. But
was this a one-off business or a chain?
No, this was a one-off, random business. I don't think it made a lot of money because I remember I don't think it was crazy expensive to do, which doesn't make any sense because they're doing all these kids' hair and their makeup. And then they have someone who's like choreographing a routine for them. And then you would order pizza. It was like a studio. It was probably a front for an illegal business. But it was like this kid's little pop starlet, slutty little studio that we went to. And we were like, I just can't get you out of my head. Just performing it for all our parents. Girl. Welcome to an episode of the podcast. What we talking about today? I don't know. Figure it out.
I ain't worried.
Hey.
Go.
It's a lot of pressure.
3, 2, 1, go.
It's literally so much pressure to do a podcast, but then you also like can't be mad about it because you chose to. That's a catch-22 of doing anything. It's like you want to do something, so you're doing it, so you can't really fucking complain about that much, can you? Because like you chose to do it, but then you want it to be so good, and then you're just mad when it's not good, and you're also like, it has to be good, so I have to figure out how to make it good. Ugh. So frustrating, but also like anytime I hear myself say it's frustrating, like, oh, poor me. Poor me, I have to make a podcast that I chose to make. The camera I pointed at myself and the lights pointed at myself. Ew. Anxiety. I am trying to stop being anxious, though. The one thing I am trying, because I really don't want to be anxious. It actually quite frustrates me now to just be like, I'm anxious. It doesn't frustrate me when other people say that they're anxious, because I'm like, I fucking get it. I'm anxious all the time. So I'm like, totally. But then when I say it for some reason, I just get mad at myself now. I'm like, fuck off. I'm so anxious all the time. So I've been trying to do all these like weird hippie things to not be anxious, like listening to frequencies. Like 528 hertz, which is like the frequency of the human body. I've been trying to listen to it while I go to bed. I think it made me more anxious. What does that say about me? I'm so off kilter that my frequency is set to Cardi B and I have no ability to listen to the frequency of the human body without fucking malfunctioning and not being able to sleep. Or other things that you do to combat anxiety, like baths and telling yourself not everyone hates you. It doesn't even fucking work. Get out of the bath and I'm anxious again. Get out of my head and I'm anxious again. Anxious all the time. Trying to eat protein for breakfast so that my cortisol doesn't spike. There's so many fucking things you have to do all the time. It shouldn't be that complicated. It's extremely complicated. And then I'm just obsessed with so many different things. I'm obsessed with the way I look. I'm obsessed with what every single person thinks about me. If you think that I haven't thought about what you think about me and I just don't even care and you don't even exist to me, you're wrong. I promise you, I've probably worried about whether you like me or not, which in itself is inherently very selfish. It is very selfish to constantly be worrying about whether everybody likes you because people are probably not thinking about you that much. People are probably thinking about what if everybody else likes them. And so we're all just over here doing the same sad shit shame spiral. And it's all actually really fucking stupid. It's all so stupid. And it sucks because it's so hard to get out of. You can say that and then you go right back into it. And I'm just right back worried about what some random person thinks of me. And I hope they like me. And I hope I've never hurt their feelings. And I hope I make them feel good when I'm around. And I hope blah, blah, blah. But it's selfish. It's selfish to do stuff like that. I hate it. It is selfish to be that anxious about how everyone feels about you because it's always focused on you. And I think it's a lot healthier to just be, I don't know, to maybe try and be focused on how other people feel independent from you. But then that's also not healthy because then you can spend your whole time focusing on how other people feel and thinking about how they feel and then their perspective on things and how they feel about this and that and the other thing and why they might be feeling certain ways. And then it's just crowded in there. I've done that too. It just gets so freaking crowded all the time. And then sometimes I feel like my brain breaks and my brain just goes flaccid, like no ability to maintain an erection. And I just hear noise. My brain just sees and hears like fuzz noise.
A negative frequency.
Yeah. 529 hertz.
It's
bitch.
Off.
It's off. It's scary. It's scary when you kind of like actually take stock of what's happening in your brain. Like, are there thoughts? Are there just anxieties? Do you have an inner monologue? Do you see pictures? Like, I think it's good to think about because I see a lot of things in my brain visually and I don't know. I like that. I like when I feel like I have an inner monologue and I can see things. I actually feel like it helps me not worry and obsess about things so much and just be like a better person to me and everyone else. But when that goes away and I feel like it's so overwhelmed with other people that it just shuts down. Not very fun and funny and witty and riffy. Before we started the podcast, Aaron was like, are you ready with your riffs, with your sick riffs? I'm like, when have I ever had sick riffs?
But ACAB?
Nobody actually wants advice.
Yeah, no one's.
No one wants. The thing about doing this is that nobody actually wants advice. People want to hear, I said this on another podcast, but people want to hear the advice. They just don't want to take it. And so people don't actually want the advice. They just want you to tell them something that's going to make them feel better so they can feel good while they don't do it. They love it. They love to do it.
I don't.
You don't know. You don't give a lot of advice.
And I ask for so much advice and I kind of hate advice.
Yeah.
But I'm addicted to it.
What do you hate about advice?
It paralyzes me when I get too many different opinions.
Yeah. I can see that.
100%.
Why do you keep asking for it then?
Because I don't trust my gut always.
Yeah, it's tough.
Love your advice.
It works out well. You want advice? I want to give it.
It's match made in heaven.
Perfect. Only if my advice is good advice. My advice is shit advice, then I'm just tanking you and me.
We're just all going down.
Yeah, not a really good call, is it?
No.
Yeah, I got to practice what I preach, don't I? Even if I'm anxious and even if I'm feeling shit, I got to fucking change things when I feel. It's so exhausting to like do all the things that you say you're going to do. Oh, so tiring. So much easier to say you're going to do stuff and then not do it. Not just easier, too. Nicer. Life is nicer. You kind of constantly, this is the one thing I've been thinking about lately is like, we're in a trap kind of. We're in a little bit of a trap with all of the therapy and all of the like getting to know yourself and feeling comfortable. Not a lot of great stuff comes when you're feeling comfortable. Not a lot of amazing ideas and I don't know, like creative pursuits come when you're feeling comfortable. I mean, it's nice when you feel comfortable. It's important for some things. Like I'm sure it's, it's useful to feel comfortable when you're doing something like recording a podcast. But sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's you do your best stuff when you're not comfortable. It's really helpful to be uncomfortable. But in order to be uncomfortable, you also have to go through stuff and you have to have, you have to have adversity. You have to have conflict, which we all hate now. We all hate conflict. Nobody wants conflict. I don't want conflict. I fucking hate conflict. But conflict does help. It's useful. It's really useful when conflict happens, and we don't want to say that. We just want everything to be nicer and kinder and more open. And it is good to approach things nicer and kinder and more open for sure. I think it's like the wrong people get off on conflict or use the like nice therapy world as an excuse to be assholes. So it's like in the hands of the wrong people, certain advice is really just like not useful. Or just not really relevant. Like everything I'm saying about like needing conflict and needing to push out of your comfort zone is all great and good and well advice when you're trying to create and you're trying to push against any sort of adversity and you're trying to overcome something and you're trying to prove yourself and you're trying to move past people who say you can't do it and you're trying to like do something really great. That's all good and well. But if I say you have to kind of welcome conflict and being uncomfortable, the people who love instigating conflict for no fucking good reason are the ones who turn around and go, yeah, see, you need it. I helped you. I helped you by making your life fucking horrible. You should be thanking me because I fucking like it's always those people who like to attach themselves to certain things from the antagonistic angle. And that's shitty and dangerous too, because you don't need to be a fucking antagonist. Like, conflict will find all of us and comfort and moving through it if everybody just lives a little bit more honestly and more authentically. And being honest doesn't just mean being honest in the moment. You also have to be honest about why you think the things you do. You have to be self-aware. You have to be like, okay, if I have a problem with this person, why do I have a problem? Is it because they're just horrible and awful? Probably not. There's probably other things behind it. Like if you have a problem with everybody, if you feel the need to shit talk everybody, it's not just because you're so fucking honest and you just tell it like it is and I just fucking say what I'm thinking. It's probably because you're deeply insecure and projecting those insecurities onto other people that feel easier for you to go after. Or maybe it's something else that I'm not even thinking of. Maybe it's because of your relationship with your parents when you were a kid. Who knows? But if you are not willing to be aware of why you are somebody who is starting conflict or why you're someone who just feels the need to fucking say what I think because I'll just be a cunt, I'll just be a bitch, I don't even care, I'll just be an asshole. If you're not willing to think about that and figure that out, then you can't be like, yeah, we all need conflict and I'm just willing to be that bitch, you know? I think you have to try and come at things authentically because if you do, you will have conflict, but it'll be authentic conflict. It'll be honest conflict. It'll be conflict because two people are actually saying what they think and they potentially disagree. Or it doesn't work, or they're mad, or someone's hurt the other person. My mom said that once, like, you'll never get through life not hurting people. You're going to hurt people. That's a part of it. I struggle with that because I want to be morally perfect and never want to hurt anybody, never want to be the reason anybody's upset, never want to be the reason I've hurt anyone's feelings. That's something that's so important to me. But you will, like, you'll be the reason that somebody else potentially is unhappy. And sometimes it's just the character that you are. It's not even something that you've done. It's the role you play, the part you play. You know, I think a lot of people feel this, you know, if you look at your partner's ex-partner, right? To that ex-partner, the new partner might be the horrible, evil bitch. And that's not because of who they are. It's because of the character they play, right? Or maybe it is who you are. Maybe you did something to just fucking piss somebody off. That's okay too. That's fine. I have a good example of this because a few weeks ago I was on stage and I've been insecure about not writing enough in stand-up. I feel like I got myself to a decent amount of time that's been mostly consistently working in terms of material. And then I also host a lot of shows, so I do a lot of crowd work. And it's been pretty easy for me to do the jokes that I have that I know most of the time reliably work. And then if they aren't working, or if it calls for it, or I feel the impetus to do crowd work, which is a skill in of itself and one I'm happy to have developed. However, a big part of doing stand-up comedy is that you have to keep writing. You have to keep adding jokes. You have to keep trying new things. And that's part of the really good feeling, but also part of what makes you an artist that has more than just a small chunk of time. And I was feeling really insecure about not writing. I did a show, and it was a show where it's a bit of a kind of a larger theater, a little harder to do crowd work. And I did my jokes, and it was a good set, you know, nothing crazy. I didn't have the best set ever, but it wasn't horrible. And I got some full room laughs, and I went home and whatever. And then I got a message. I got a DM from someone who doesn't follow me, who does not follow the show. Somebody who is not attached to me at all in any way. And she was mad because one of the jokes, I wear scrubs on stage because I'm also a medical esthetician. And so usually I come from work and I'm in scrubs. I make a joke about being a nurse, and then I say, you know, like, just kidding, I'm a medical esthetician. It's more of a joke than just I'm a nurse, just kidding, I'm a medical esthetician. But there's a through line to it. I've told that joke to many nurses, and none of them have seemed to find it offensive or anything wrong with what I'm saying. I'm not coming down on nurses. It's just kind of like a fake out thing. Anyway, she, I think, was a nurse, and for some reason was offended by my set and had seen me more than once, because she wrote to me and said, apparently you don't have the brains to pass your RN because you don't even have the brains to write a new set. And oh my God, did that take me down. Side note, you know that you have a wonderful and loving partner if when someone is mean to you, they turn into a raging cunt. Because I came home and told Aaron, and he was like, that fugly fucking whore, which was exactly the reaction that I needed, because I wasn't going to say that. I was like, she's right, and I'm so sorry. But Aaron was like, that stupid fucking bitch, basic ass bitch. And I was like, thanks, honey. He became so mean, and I loved it. But aside from, like, I went through a lot of emotions. My first instinct, and this is because who I am, I'm just pussy, but I wanted to apologize to her because I felt bad that she had paid to come to 2 shows, seen the same set, and obviously didn't like it or was offended by my joke. And for anyone who's not familiar, stand-up comedians do a lot of the same jokes often. That's something that's quite common. But you obviously still do want to be keeping it fresh and doing new things. So it wasn't bad necessarily that I did the same set twice, but I've done those jokes a lot. And so my first instinct was to apologize. My next instinct was to say something like short and kind of nice to feel like I got the upper hand. And Aaron encouraged me to not say anything, and I haven't, and I don't know if I ever will, but the option is there, which is nice. When you don't say anything, you do have the option to respond later when you feel like you can, which is a good lesson for me. But then I just kind of became a little bit grateful because I had been feeling really shitty about not writing. I'd been telling a lot of people that I felt shitty about not writing, and that wasn't helping me write. It wasn't doing anything for me. It wasn't making me more creative. It wasn't bringing out anything, any new ideas, any fun sparks of joy. It was just putting a damper on it for no reason. And really, it wasn't even conflict because it was just kind of an insular self problem that I was having. As soon as this person approached me like that in the way that she did, I felt Like there was conflict. All of a sudden somebody was mad about my joke. Maybe, I don't know. I could interpret it 1,000 different ways. She was upset and she wanted to take me down by being like, you do the same jokes. I've seen you do the same set twice. Write a new set. And I'm kind of grateful because I started writing. I was like, you know what? It's not going to be perfect. I'm just going to write every day. I don't care if I'm writing a joke. I'm not going to sit down and force myself to write a joke. I'm just going to write 2 sentences in my notebook every single day. And sometimes those 2 sentences are the dumbest fucking thing you've ever read. It's literally me being like, today I saw a pumpkin and I hugged that pumpkin and went home and went to bed. Like it's the stupidest nonsense. It's literally just me regurgitating something that happened in my day or a diary entry, or I'm like, why do I feel like this? Like it's nonsense. If you read it, you would be like, some of those sentences, you would be like, whoever wrote this is at a 3rd grade reading level. But I was like, whatever, I'm just going to write. I'm not going to judge it. I'm not going to sit there and feel shitty or like I'm not writing a fully fledged joke. I'm just going to write every single day. And it led me to coming up with a new joke that I still don't think is amazing yet, but it's starting to work and I'm starting to figure it out. And now I have this new joke, and this new joke is something that I'm really excited about. It's like about an idea that I think is really funny. It's not just about me. It's about an observation on kind of something bigger than me, which I've been kind of wanting to write about too, not just about my personal stories, but about things that I see and observe. And so I'm grateful. I'm grateful that somebody was like, fuck you, bitch, write a new set. Cause I don't have a new set yet, but I have a new joke. And I don't know. I just kind of started the process of writing something new every day and practicing all the fucking shit I yap about all the time. I wasn't practicing anything I was yapping about. I was just feeling sorry for myself. And sometimes you need big conflicts, big change, big opposition to go past it. This was small conflict. Obviously, this is a very small consequence. There's been much bigger conflicts in my life that have pushed me to do much larger things. But if you're insecure about something and then someone picks at that scab, it's a good opportunity to be like, oh shit, okay, there's something I can do to change this. And yeah, I think conflict is good, but don't use that to be a fucking asshole. Don't go fucking looking for it. Don't be the conflict. Be the one fighting against the conflict. Be the one overcoming the conflict. Because another thing, it's always another thing. I have a million things to say. Another thing though, is that I'm grateful now. I'm grateful that I got that message. I'm grateful that I'm writing again. I'm grateful for a lot of people and things that have come in and given me conflicts, big and small. But I never want to be that fucking person. I never want to be that fucking bitch who decided that she needed to go out of her way to say something mean to me. I'm grateful for it, but fuck her. Because what a horrible, horrible person you have to be like, I'm going to take my time and energy to tell someone that they're not fucking smart enough. They're not good enough. And fuck your shit. And I believe that about anyone who writes any fucking gross ass comment on someone's piece of content. Like, if you are someone who's out there leaving disgusting comments on people, on anybody's content that is just trying to do what they love, okay? If you're out having political debates in certain TikTok comment sections about certain things that you disagree with, okay, fucking fine. But if somebody is creating something and wants to do something, no matter how fucking cringy you think it is, no matter how ugly you think they are, untalented, unintelligent, if someone is just out there not trying to be offensive, just trying to create and do what they love, or do a fun little dance, or put their makeup on a video, and you are out here leaving mean comments for no reason when it does not affect you, fuck you. You're sad and pathetic, and you're one of those people that just sits on the couch and does nothing with their fucking life. And that's so fucking sad. And there are so many people like that. There are also these half couch dwellers that they sit on the couch and then sometimes they go, well, look at me, I got off the couch. I'm actually very fun and smart and witty. And then I sit back down. And also, fuck you. Fuck you. If you're out here leaving nasty comments and saying mean things to people and then sometimes being like, look, I can do it. No, I'm good. Yeah. And then sitting down. Also, fuck you. Fuck you for not putting your whole heart, love, soul, energy into the thing that you do and putting yourself out there in a way that's completely unafraid. Fuck you. Because guess what? Even if you reach a little bit of whatever it is you're looking for, fame, clout, attention, admiration, job promotion, whatever you're looking for, even if you reach some of that, you will always be fucking miserable. People will always leave you in your life because they will never be attracted to something like that long term. And you will never get to where you could be if you got rid of all of that shit and hate and vitriol and just tried to do the thing that you really want to be good at. It's cowardly. I have so much more respect for people who go for things and fail strong and don't feel the need to take other people down, because I am alarmed constantly by how often people feel the need to go after other people. This happened anytime. The first time I got a stand-up clip posted, I didn't even post it. It was someone else who posted it. Like a company that filmed me doing it. And so many people were saying fucking stupid shit. And it was like, who cares? But then I looked at all these other clips of other comedians and all of the things that people are saying, all of these weird, oh, this isn't funny, this isn't that. It's like, fuck off. Why are you writing that? Why are you wasting your time writing that? Who cares? Go do something. Go make something. Go do something else. It's so weird to me that you can't just watch something that you don't like or see something you don't like and just go, not for me. Okay. Or go talk to your friends. Like, it's not that you can't shit talk. It's fucking send that video to your friends and be like, LOL, I hate this. Like, who cares? If you want to go do that, fine. But if you go out of your way to make someone else feel shitty about the thing that they're doing or they're creating, it's just so fucking weird and I don't understand it. So fuck that girl. Fuck that girl who messaged me. But also thank you. Both. I don't know. Maybe I have conflicting ideologies. But I remember that was a big thing that I'm still learning, is that you're allowed to be angry. And being angry is okay.
That's true.
Being angry is allowed. But I also think it can't just be the only emotion. It has to be something that you move through. Mm-hmm. I do feel angry. Regardless of whether we use what was there before or we just cut to this. I do feel angry at that person. I feel angry at that person because anytime someone does something that I don't understand, I try to put myself in their brain and think about why they chose to do that. I do that a lot. I actually like that I do that. It can get crowded and overwhelming sometimes, but I like to think about the reasons why people did what they did, even if it has nothing to do with me. I think it's interesting to kind of think about the process behind what people do and how they got there. And it's kind of like a puzzle, because I think sometimes when something happens and, you know, even if it's just a story that's being shared with me and a friend goes, why would they do that? Why would they do something like that? Why would they respond like that? I actually think about the reason why. I'm like, I wonder why. And usually you can kind of trace it back to the way someone learned how to communicate. I mean, if you went deep enough and therapized them enough, I mean, you could go into like childhood stuff. But if you do know something about that person, I think it's interesting to kind of evaluate why people react the way they do. I like to think about that. I think it's an interesting exercise. And I also think it helps to try and understand people, especially people who are not going to give you an explanation themselves for why they do the things they do. It's not always helpful because sometimes you're guessing, obviously, but sometimes it is nice to think about. When that person messaged me and said, you don't have the brains to write a new set, you don't even have the brains to pass your RN, which doesn't make sense to me because RN is your registered nurse, and I never said I was going for that. I always said that I'm not as great as nurses. I'm just a medical esthetician. But she's basically calling me stupid and hack and saying I didn't have what it takes to write a new set, right? Okay, fine. Maybe that was her opinion. Maybe she was mad. Maybe she misinterpreted something I said or was offended by my joke. And so she felt the need to lash out at me. Maybe she just saw me twice and was like, fuck her, and just wanted to say something mean. But when I think about that from all angles, like, yeah, my first instinct was to apologize to her because I didn't like that someone had paid for a show and saw me do the same set twice, or that she was upset by something I said. And my second instinct was to thank her, which wasn't meant to be negative, but just to kind of take my power back and use that to, you know, start writing again, which I did. I mean, I did that independently from having to include her in the conversation. But the third part that I do think about is that it made me really, really angry because I couldn't understand why someone would go home after a night out and go out of their way to just be mean to a stranger. And I would understand if like maybe my joke was so offensive or something, like I said something horrible about nurses and she was a nurse and she's really attached to her identity as a nurse, and then I'm out here attacking them on stage and getting laughs for it and how cruel and how awful. But my joke has nothing to do with nurses like being bad people. It's all kind of like a weird, silly situation that I made up where I pretend to be a nurse and then say, just kidding, I'm not. So I just don't understand how that could be interpreted as me coming down on nurses, or I even give them compliments. I'm like, you know, they're healthcare workers. People see my scrubs and they think that I'm this nurse or this amazing person, but I'm not. Like it really is not about anything that I think in my brain could be taken offensively. Obviously it could be. I'm just not seeing it. But I think I'm frustrated and I'm mad too because I can't understand it. I can't understand. I looked at her Instagram too, of course, because I love to creep. I looked at her Instagram and she has a tagged photo from her sister being like, happy 24th birthday to the most kind and loving and generous person I know. And I'm just like, what kind of kind and loving and generous person goes to a comedy show and then goes out of their way to do something like that? And obviously there's so many sides to people, like that she is not just that one incident. Maybe she was drunk. Maybe she was in a bad mood. Maybe she got broken up with that day or lost her job, or like there's a million reasons why someone could be upset and want to like lash out or react. I guess I just, I can't understand why anyone would feel good about that choice. And I guess a lot of people just make choices they don't feel good about. But I think that frustration and not understanding it and not getting to know her side and not getting to know why she chose to do that, and then maybe feeling frustrated with myself, like mixed in and insecure about not writing and feeling like a fraud, you know, and feeling like I wasted someone's time. I think all of that anger and frustration, it all kind of blended together, and I am mad, but I'm also like, I'm not a fucking saint. I'm allowed to be mad at people. I'm allowed to be upset. And then I'm also allowed to be like, if she ever explained her perspective, or if anyone who ever hurt my feelings ever explained, then I would hear them out, and, you know, I would try my best to be diplomatic about it. And this is a small blip in the world. It's a minute, minor, stupid little incident. It's as silly as a random comment or DM. I do think people who go out of their way to say hurtful things to people online, especially people who are trying to do what they love, I do think those people are cowards. I do think those people are weird and strange for choosing to do that over choosing to make something themselves. I do think that's odd. But at the same time, those people are probably hurting just like everyone else, and fucking Jesus Christ. Like, you could go over the reasons why someone does something a million times. And I like to, but it's also a bit of a trap, because sometimes you're just trying to understand people from so many different angles that you don't ever let yourself just be fucking pissed that you went out and tried to make people laugh, and it worked, and one person went out of their way to make you feel like absolute shit. It's not the biggest deal in the world. There's way bigger deals in the world. There's been way bigger deals in my life. This was a freaking drop in the pond of nothing. It doesn't matter. Long term, it doesn't matter. But if nothing matters and we can always see everyone's side and there's always a bigger problem, like, we all do that. We're all like, well, there's bigger things going on. Of course there is. Of course there are bigger things going on. Oh my God. Jesus Christ, this is not the center of the universe. There's way bigger things going on constantly, always, all the time. But yet we still have our days that do kind of revolve around us because we're the ones living them. And I don't think it's awful to feel our way through that too. You know, it's good to have perspective. It's good to not think you're the center of the universe, but it's also okay to be fucking mad if someone says something shitty to you and to not be perfect and diplomatic and angelic and, oh my God, and everything's fine. And I think you're just allowed to get fucking pissed off if someone pisses you off, and then you got to move through it. And that's harder for some than it is for others. I find it easier to just not even feel the anger or let go of it. Some people find it easy to feel the anger and not let go of it. You know, everyone has a different process, but I do think we should be allowed to get a little mad. If someone fucking comes up to us and says shit, especially women, we are not good at getting mad. We're good at getting sad, but we're not good at getting mad. And a lot of people aren't used to us getting mad. It makes them uncomfortable. And I think it's okay to be mad. There's a lot to be mad about. Don't stay mad forever because it'll ruin your life, no one else's, just yours. But you're allowed to be mad.
Can anger fuel you in a healthy way, or is it always... Does anger not hurt yourself?
No, of course. I think anger is healthy. Anger is healthy because it's an emotion that wants to be let out.
Festering.
Yeah.
Is bad.
Festering is not...
Simmering is not ideal.
Are you talking about cooking or what are we doing?
Stewing.
You're talking about rotting, cooking.
Stewing is negative.
It's bad to simmer it on low for 30 minutes, but it's great to boil it on high for 2.
Don't broil yourself.
Don't broil. Only boil.
Boil, don't boil over.
Yeah, broil, don't boil. Or boil, don't broil.
Boil, don't broil.
Yeah. Bake, don't shake.
Simmer, don't stew.
Yeah. I like simmer, don't stew. That's a good one. Simmer, don't stew. I think it's the reason that I keep saying it's okay to get angry and then finishing my sentence, which is probably me convoluted and repeating myself, but it's okay to get angry. But if you live in anger, it'll eat you. It will eat you. It's an emotion that will eat you. There are other emotions that won't eat you. Anger will eat you if you let it. And I think not letting it eat you, kind of letting it move through you. You eat it and then you shit it out. That's the best.
You take its energy and you transform it.
Yeah. You take it for what it is. You evaluate it. You move through it. You don't hang on to it for 1,000 years. Like, oh my God, if you talk to me in a year and I'm mad about this random person who wrote me a comment, bitch, get over it. Move on. Like, there's more things that I hope my life is way busier and there's other things making me angry. There should always be new things, I think, coming through. And you don't have to be angry all the time about everything. I just think if anger comes up, it's okay. If you don't let yourself feel it, I think the likelihood of it festering, turning into sadness or weird anxiety is higher. That's why we see a lot of people with like anxious or bottled up emotions. I think some of that is just unreleased anger. And you don't have to release it on someone and make them feel absolutely horrible. You can just be angry and do something about it. You can just use that. It's all about what you want to do and how you want to use it. Because as self-centered as that all sounds, as self-centered as the whole thing is of just trying to live life better and take advice, good. Make yourself the best fucking thing that you can make yourself, because you are, as far as we know, only here fucking once. You don't have to feel guilty about wanting to do things for yourself. You don't have to feel guilty about feeling a certain way just because someone else has felt something way worse, or worse things are going on all the time, or your friend felt something worse, or someone somewhere else felt something worse. Like, just feel it. Because if you always do that, you're never going to let anything go. You're never going to release any of that. You're always going to be hung up on other people and other perspectives and all of that stuff. And the truth is, you're not actually seeing other people and other perspectives clearly if you're not seeing yours. And so I think it's okay to see your perspective. It's okay to get angry. It's okay to rage at little things and your small emotions. It's all okay. If you have the luxury to be able to do it, do it. Do what you can. Do what you can with the tools that you have, and then let it go. Move through it. Move on to something else. And you leave yourself more open to other perspectives and causes and, things. And also, that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. I'm sure there's lots of people that live their life suppressing certain emotions and it works for them. Like, it's all about how your brain has figured out how to wire to work. So really, if it's working for you, then let it work for you. But if something's not working, if something feels like it's not fully getting there and you're constantly like, I feel like this, I'm constantly plagued by like, why the fuck am I even talking about this? Like, I don't matter. Like, I'm not that important. And like, I'm so lucky. And I've lived, like a good life, and sure, there's been issues, but like overall, like I'm a very lucky person. And, yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of like, what the fuck am I complaining about? But I realize that the more that you drown yourself in that, you just become almost like guilty for feeling anything. And it actually is paralyzing. It stops you from doing anything else. It stops you from spreading any level of joy, of doing nice things for other people, nice things for yourself. Like, it stops you from feeling good in all aspects of your life. And so to feel good in all aspects of your life, you also need to be able to feel all of the other emotions, because it's not just about feeling happy and finding happiness and finding good and finding joy. It's about finding all of it in a way that works with you. Happiness is just an emotion. It's going to come, it's going to go. It's the foundation that you build where the emotions get to dance on. That's what matters. And that's what helps you do all the things that you want to do. If your goal is to care more about other people, other causes, other perspectives, like, you have to take care of yourself. You have to take care of yourself, and then you have to show up in the best way you can for other people. And that's how it starts. And anger is an emotion, just like happiness, just like sadness. And it needs its shelf life too. Men are very good at getting angry. We allow men to get angry in this world a lot more than we allow women. Women are not allowed anger in the same way. It makes people very uncomfortable, I think. And it makes people like, whoa, especially if, like, I think for you even, like, me to be someone who like outwardly doesn't always get angry, but you've seen me angry before. It kind of turns you on, I think.
I've made you angry.
You've made me very angry.
Many a time.
Mm-hmm.
What was that saying? It's like, hell knows no fury like a woman scorned.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because I think a woman doesn't get angry until she's fucking pissed.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just want to hold on to your hat.
Mm-hmm. There's also some women I know who are very comfortable in anger. They're very okay with it. It's kind of fun to watch. You don't want to sit in that too long either, though. Otherwise, you just end up furious all the time. That's no fun either.
Question time.
Okay, let's do some questions. I'm sick of my problems. I want to focus on other people's.
Thank you for asking these questions.
Thank you.
If you have any more questions, please refer them to askthepodcass@gmail.com.
Shameless plug.
So Cass can answer your questions.
I am going to go over some questions that we have here. This one is from Andrew. Thank you, Andrew, for writing in. It says, I've been with my partner for 2 years and our intimacy levels have shifted drastically. I have a much higher sex drive while they seem content with very little physical affection. How can we address this mismatch without anyone feeling pressured or inadequate? Oof, that's tough. I think that, first of all, again, thank you for your question. This is a hard one because I feel like a lot of people, and myself included, you place a lot of weight on intimacy, especially when someone wants it a lot and someone doesn't want it as much, because the person who wants it a lot puts a lot of value on the relationship with being intimate. I also think it's not necessarily very helpful that a lot of, like, if you Google, ways to stay together forever, or like ways that couples, I've never Googled that before, but ways to be close with your partner, a lot of it mentions increasing intimacy. And there's a lot of science behind this. There's science behind the fact that when you kiss for longer than 7 seconds, you release oxytocin. There's serotonin released when you hold hands with the person you love. I might be getting the chemicals mixed up, but those two chemicals are released when you share touch and closeness with partners. Now, having said that, I feel like that's kind of a blanking, sweeping general statement that isn't going to apply to everybody or every couple or partner. So the one thing I'm curious about is that in this question you said, I've been with my partner for 2 years and our intimacy levels have shifted drastically. If the other person does not want any physical attention or affection, but they previously wanted a lot of it, then I would say the answer is more finding out how to kind of recharge that person and bring them back into the relationship in a really loving and connecting way, because they might just not be responding to the type of intimacy that you're initiating, and your high sex drive might be overwhelming them because they feel this pressure or need to perform a little bit more. And that might be kind of paralyzing them into not wanting it as much. So if it previously started with a higher sex drive that was more evenly matched, I would say that you just have to take your sex drive and really focus it in on how to make that person feel the most comfortable. And if they don't feel comfortable, or they feel comfortable up until a point and then they need to stop, I think, doing things for yourself to kind of take care of your sex drive so that you don't put so much pressure on them would probably be helpful, just at least in the initial stages. And then hopefully they can eventually meet you there to help meet your needs, and then, only do what they're comfortable with as well. But I think too that the interesting thing that can happen the longer we're in relationships is we get more normalized with things that were previously very exciting in our relationships. So even I was looking at something the other day that was like, when you start changing in front of your partner more often, it decreases the excitement for sex or intimacy, because you're so used to seeing them change, or used to seeing them, naked all the time. I don't know how much I think that that's a good idea. I think it's kind of unrealistic that you're not going to change in front of a long-term partner, but it is interesting to notice that levels of intimacy sometimes decrease the longer that you've been with someone, because there are just certain things that get normalized. So there's less heightened anticipation, and therefore maybe less passion and less desire for intimacy. Also, sometimes partners get stuck in these kind of magnet relationships where one person is the pursuer, they want it all the time, they're kind of begging for it, they're eager for it, and then the other person becomes a little bit more distant, more distracted, or just more negative and generally a little bit more critical about the sex. So they become the person who's like, no, don't do it like that, do it like this. They have a harder time just kind of giving in and enjoying it, and the other person wants it so badly and wants to pursue it so badly that you kind of create this opposite negative dynamic that doesn't really work. So I do think slowing down, trying new things, trying something that their partner's not expecting, would be really useful to kind of revamp or reinvigorate the sex life. That's one part of this. The other part of this is potentially that this person has never really had a high sex drive. They have never really wanted it, and this is just something that's now bothering you because you've been in the relationship for a while. So there's two questions you can ask yourself. One is, if nothing changes, do you think that you could live like this? Is this person, because of all of their other qualities, the one that you really want to be with? Or is this a relationship that feels like you're kind of just biding time? Because if it feels like you're just in a relationship to either be comfortable, to bide time, or because you're used to being in a relationship, I would say if that basic compatibility isn't there, it is always okay to leave. I feel like I'm going to say this a lot of times when there are questions surrounding relationships, and I don't want my answer to always be like, just get out of it, just leave the relationship. But I do think people should consider that as a real option. We're very scared of leaving relationships because they feel comfortable and safe and nourishing, even when they're not, even when they're unsafe, or maybe not unsafe, but they're just not working for us anymore. We feel the need to always kind of make it work. And I think it takes a lot to be compatible with somebody. It's okay if you're not. They don't have to be a terrible person for you to not want to be with them. That's okay. So if this is an incompatibility that can't be worked on, you have to decide if this person is really worth it for all of these other reasons, or if maybe they're a great person, they're just not your person. And then my third piece of advice, because we can't just have one straight answer to this, would be that if you want something to change, this isn't something that has changed or, was different in the beginning. They just never have really had a higher sex drive. I think you need to maybe get to the root of why, or find other ways that you can be intimate that maybe don't involve the traditional feelings of physical affection and intimacy. Because if somebody also has a really, like, let's say we could make it a very basic example. If somebody was slapped on the wrist a lot when they were growing up, and then someone goes to grab your hand and they grab the top of your hand, that might feel like a scary reaction because you're used to the top of your hand being constantly slapped. So when someone goes to grab it, it doesn't feel comforting and nice and safe. It feels scary. So the answer might be to touch another part of that person's body, or to grab them by the palm of their hand to make them feel a little bit more loved and accepted. That's just a random example. I don't know if that's ever happened to someone who's been slapped on the wrist excessively. But I just mean, if you have a negative connotation with physical touch or with sex, or you've had some sort of issues in the past, or you just for some reason are finding that your body does not respond well to physical touch, I think slower, more communicative, more verbal, more intentional ways of trying to figure out ways to connect physically is really the way to go. And it can look like so many different things. I think the key is patience. Sometimes when a partner really, really, really wants to have sex, they do not have a lot of patience, and that's where the pressuredness comes from, or the feeling of inadequacy. I think it's totally fine to just say, today, all we did was hold hands. You don't have to go telling anyone or shouting it from the rooftops. You don't have to tell your friends if they're going to be like, fucking, that's so lame. Like, you don't have to you don't have to do any of that. You can just be with your partner, take it slow, try not to make fun of yourselves as you're doing it, and just do really simple, slow things to kind of build that intimacy from scratch, or to build it back up again. And lots of talking throughout it. And eventually trying, to maybe not talk to close your eyes, to do other things. Like, it all depends on the person, so specific. But I think if you're trying and you're curious about ways to make it work, then you will, and you'll figure it out. You just have to be that committed and that curious.
You want to do one more?
Yeah, let's do one more question.
And then wrap it up.
Let's do one more question. These are all relationship questions.
I got one.
What?
From local listener. How do you know if a friendship is worth saving?
Ooh.
Simple.
Great question.
Thank you for asking.
Thank you for asking. I like how often Aaron makes me use my manners. Thank you for asking the question.
You make me use my manners everywhere else in the world.
That's so true. You always have your head down when wait staff come to take your order. It's always like you're frazzled and sorting through 1,000 papers. You're like, I'll just go 1 second. I'll have a steak. How do you know if a friendship is worth saving? I think that a friendship is worth saving if this is somebody who, regardless of any specific issue that's happening right now, but if you take stock of the entire time of your friendship together, if they are someone who can be happy for you when you're succeeding and there for you when you're not, that is a friendship worth saving. There are people who can only be there for you when things are going poorly, because misery loves company and they love to kind of wallow in your sadness with you. And sometimes they're great friends. They're not just being like, yeah, life is awful. They're giving you great advice. They're telling you it's going to be better. They're comforting you. They're crying with you. They're trying to uplift you. But it's really only in those moments where something's going wrong. And then there are friends that can do that, but then they can also really share in your joy. I remember calling my best friend Riley when I got JFL for the first time, and I was so excited, and she was in the middle of the streets of Mexico with her sister, and she was like crying and freaking out, like with joy. And she was like, we're in the middle of the street, we're freaking out right now. And she was so happy for me. And I don't know, she just shared in that joy so much. And she's also been there for me at my worst times. And I have so many great friends like that. where they really want to hear about my accomplishments, but they're also there for me when it goes to shit. And I always hope I'm giving that back to them, that when they have big, amazing things happen, that I am right there cheering them on, saying, yes, as they should. I am so happy people are seeing how amazing you are, or that you're being loved the way you're meant to be loved, or you're getting the opportunities that you want. I'm so fucking happy when I see that. Even if I'm like, fuck, I wish I was doing that, like that thing of positive jealousy where you can be jealous without wanting to tear someone down. You're just like, fuck, that's so fucking cool. I wish I was also doing cool shit like that too. But to not take away from it in the moment. It's not about you. To really just relish in how happy you are for the people that you love in your life when they get great, great things. And then to be there for them when life isn't so great. I think that's the mark of such a beautiful friendship. And there's so many friendships that don't have either or just have one. And it's usually the negative one. There are a lot of people who I think struggle to be happy for other successes, especially if they're not happy with where they're at in their life. And I think it is such a gift to find friends that can do both. So your friendship is worth saving. If you can really think about that person, not whatever incident is kind of plaguing your friendship right now, but if you can think of that person as somebody who will always be there for you when the highs are high and really supporting you and uplifting you and not taking you down and not feigning excitement, genuinely being excited for you and will fucking pick you up when you're at your lowest, that is a real friend. That is a friendship worth saving. And if they can't do that, there are other people who will.
It's as simple as that. What's a good way to end a friendship that isn't
working,
no longer serving you, doesn't do that what you just described? What's a nice way to...
There isn't really a nice way, unfortunately. That's actually kind of a catch-22. And a lot of people, myself included, get kind of swept up in that pitfall because it's very hard to just sit someone down and be like, listen, I don't like your personality and I don't think you're capable for being happy for me when life goes well. So I don't want to be your friend anymore. Like, that's so strange and like very out of left field. Everything I'm talking about is fine to think about in kind of more of a cerebral context. But when it comes to the actual people that you see in your life, you might work with them. You might have other friends with like them, be in a friend group, whatever. That's very, very difficult. All I can say is that you control how much of yourself you invest into other people. So if you do not want to be around that person anymore, you've realized that it's not a good friendship. Maybe it's a little bit toxic. Maybe this person is jealous of you. Maybe, I don't know, you just have developed a bad rapport with each other, or it's just a friendship that's not feeling good for you anymore. You do not need to sit them down and be like, listen, you're an awful person, whatever. Because the truth is you might not be perfect either. There might be ways that you're not contributing well to that friendship. Like the advice is never just one-sided. The advice is never just, they need to be there for you during all of this stuff. You also need to be there for them. You need to be giving back exactly what you're getting. And if you're not, it doesn't mean you're a terrible person. It doesn't mean they're a terrible person. Sometimes you just don't want to because you're not actually that pumped about that person's life and accomplishments and friendship. It's actually just not a great time for you. Maybe it's not very much fun. Maybe they're a big dull dud. Maybe your favorite thing to do is, I don't know, go out and play team sports and they love to knit and you're like, that's lame. Or maybe you love knitting and they just like to party and you're like, fuck that, I want to make a sweater. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like if you don't align with this person, you don't really like this person's interests, you're not on the same page as this person, then you will find yourself not being a good friend to them. And they will probably find themselves not being a good friend to you. Like, this happens all the fucking time. You're not in the driver's seat of your own life without fault. You're fucking hitting deer left, right, and center in that car, and you just have to learn to avoid the areas where there are more deer. It's a weird analogy, and I don't know why I went down that road at all. But all I'm saying is, like, yes, like if you can take away anything from all of it, yeah, you make the changes and you need to get inspired and do all this cool shit for yourself, but you also need to be a fucking decent human being. Like, you can't be out here just being like, oh, this person is just awful to me. Like, if you're always thinking about the ways that other people have mistreated you and never about the ways that you treat other people, you're probably being a fucking shitty person. If it's always all about the things that people are doing to you and never what you're doing to them, guess what, babe? You're the problem, So, I don't mean to say that too antagonistically. I just think, It's fine if you don't really want to be friends with somebody because maybe you're not being a great friend to them, or maybe they're being absolutely awful to you and you're being amazing to them. I don't know. But it's okay to just be like, you know what? This didn't work out. I don't really want to be around this person that much. So I will do whatever I need to kind of maintain some kind of peace in my life, whether that's putting up with them in social situations, being acquaintances with them, you know, going out with them or seeing them maybe once every couple months or something. I don't know. Whatever your threshold is for it. Or if you do want to sit them down and be like, I don't think we should be friends anymore, and that feels comfortable to you, then great, then do it. But just be careful with how much time and energy you put into that person. If they call you and they need something, it's okay if you're busy, if that's a friendship that you don't want anymore. But you also can't expect to call them when you need something. You have to make a conscious choice to not put a ton of energy in, but also not ask for a lot of energy out either. And they will figure it out. People, I think, are intuitive, more intuitive than we give them credit for. And if you are not asking anything from them and you are also not giving a lot to them, they will learn. And they might talk to you about it, and then you have a chance to kind of discuss why, or they might not. And, you know, people fade in and out of friendships all the time. Look at your parents, because I guarantee you your parents don't have a fuck ton of friends that they've all had since they were 20 years old. I'm sure some of them have, you know, a good group of friends maybe. But I think a lot of people's parents do not have a massive circle of friends that they've accumulated over the years. It becomes harder to hold on to people as you get older. You get more busy and do more things with your life. Even if you don't have kids, you move, you go different places. Friendships are only worth keeping if they're really great for you and you feel like you can put a lot back into them as well. And if they're not, then, you know, just take a little bit of a back seat, cut it off, do what you need to do, try to be nice about it, leave it there.
Don't feel bad.
No, you don't have to feel bad. If you're being shady and weird and shit talking them, then you do have to feel bad. Don't do that. But if you're just done with it and it's not working for you.
And it doesn't mean that it wasn't at one point a good friendship.
No, of course. It could have been a great friendship at one point. You could have had great memories with that person. You just have to think about that too. Like, some people are in a rush to cut things off. People are very excited to be like, that person not my friend anymore, so I'm going to fucking tell them. But then you kind of burn a bridge. You create a problem. You create a conflict, right? And maybe that person is worth creating a conflict with. I don't know. Or maybe they're not. Maybe they were a great friend at the time and now they're just not really anymore, and that's okay too. Let it fade. Let it do what it's going to do naturally. You know, don't force it.
Find each other again.
You might find each other later in life. You never know.
Life is long.
Life is long. I love to say life is long because it is. There's so many things that could happen, twists, turns. People that you think, this is sad but true, people that you think are your best friends or your lovers or your husbands and wives and
your podcast producers.
People that you think will never leave your life. For a lot of us, they will in different ways. And that sucks, but that's just true. If you look at anyone's life, it happens. Sometimes you don't expect it. Sometimes you do. Fights happen. Things happen all the time. I think if you just try to really honor the good people that you have in your life, you really try to treat them well and cherish them. And, you know, and you get that back from them and it's a good relationship, then work on it, work to keep it. And if it's not, life is long, but it's also too short. It's okay. You don't have to be friends with everybody. You can just take the good memories. You don't have to hate them either. You don't have to be shitty, you know. Now, having said that, if they're a real fucking problem, shit talk the shit out of them. No, I'm kidding. Don't do that. Don't do that. Everybody needs to gossip sometimes. I'm not saying that anyone's immune to a little gossip sesh if you need it, but I try to make a conscious decision now more than ever to say more positive things about people than negative. And it works. It kind of works. You just don't want to shit talk as much. But it's also really fucking annoying because sometimes people are like, let's just hate that bitch. I get that too. I get it all. Maybe I don't get any of it.
You're an expert in your field.
Of what?
The podcast.
I guess. But you know when you sometimes, okay, because it's just a side note. But sometimes when you hear yourself talking about shit and you're just like, oh, fucking come on.
Yeah.
Like no one's immune to having a little fucking gab sesh with your friends where you're like, that, and then they did this and then they did that. And then it was like, you know? Oh, I would be so lying if I said that I didn't fucking do that with my best friends, with the people who fucking wronged me or shit talked me or whatever. And I find out about it and we just sit there and fucking, sometimes you just gotta, and I think it's fine. But if you do it too much, and you will feel it when you do it too much, it feels gross and icky. And especially if you've had a couple drinks, you're going to wake up feeling all weird and anxious. You're going to be like, did I say something fucking mean? You're not going to feel nice. You're going to feel gross. You're going to feel fucking anxious. You're going to be sweating out your little armpits. And then you're going to be like, oh, what did I say to that person? I tell them too much. And it might not even be things that you feel. You might just be caught up in the gossip session. Then you're talking and blah, blah, blah. And all I'm going to say is that anytime you do that, just remember that someone has probably fucking done that about you too. To someone else. And if that thought makes you paralyzed with fear and you hate that, then maybe next time we try to talk about something fun and silly and weird instead of a specific person and how much we hate them. And I'm giving that advice to myself because I do that too all the time. I try to be all like, oh yes, I would just say nice things about everyone all the time. And then sometimes someone just fucking pisses you off or does really fucking annoying shit and you just need to fucking scratch that itch. And that's fine. Sometimes it's healthy. Sometimes it goes too far. It's life. We learn, we live. It's okay. But yeah, I think you'll always be a little happier if someone's consistently bothering you. And that's my thing too. Okay. So one more thing. I think that if you are really good friends with somebody, you should not be fucking shit talking them. You should not be gossiping about them. You should not be shit talking them. You should not be pissed off. If you have a problem, you should feel comfortable enough in that relationship to bring it to that person. Big, tall order, I know, but that's what you should be doing because that's a courtesy I think that you owe to the people that you've chosen to be really close with in your life. Because would you want that? Like, think about it in reverse. If that's a really close friend of yours, would you want them fucking gossiping about you to someone else? No, you wouldn't. But if you don't like someone and you need to gossip with your friends, that's fucking fine. If someone's hurt your feelings or wronged you or whatever and you need to gossip about them, that's okay. But what's not okay is to then turn around and be like, now that's my best friend. That's fucking weird. Don't do that. You know, get your little Gabby session out about someone that is not really in your life or irrelevant or that you don't like. Learn what it's like to feel a little anxious about it. Rein it in and go fucking touch grass. Go do something better with your life. Go, I don't know, read a book. That's my advice. Read a book.
Write 2 sentences.
Write 2 sentences about your dumb life. Read a book. Shut up.
Nice.
Because we're all going to die and we're allowed to be mad.
What a positive note to end on.
Moral of the story, go read a book. We should all read a book. Stop staring in the mirror and go read a book. Go read a non-fiction book.
Some smut.
No. That's fiction. Go read a non-fiction book about a topic that you're interested in.
Learn something?
Learn something new. If you're gossiping too much, go read a non-fiction book and then come back. Thank me later. Go do it.
If you're too gossipy.
If you're being a little gossipy little rat, if you're feeling like you're being a little rat.
Go read a 4-part.
Little rat and you're just... but the same thing bothering you, same thing, keep saying it all the time. Stop it. You don't need to repeat yourself anymore. Go to the library, pick out a non-fiction book. I don't care if it seems boring. Put on some classical music, read that shit. Read the fuck out of that shit.
Have you ever done that one time in your life?
No. I mean, I have maybe not gone from gossiping to reading a book, but I have been like, fucking bitch, read a book and read a nonfiction book. Yes, I'll take my own advice. But I haven't gone to the library after a gossip session and picked out a nonfiction book. No. But I think it's a good idea.
It's a good idea.
And I think that if you're feeling a little too gossipy, that you should go to the library and get a nonfiction book. I'm just saying I think it's a good idea. I'm not saying
great idea.
All of this I've done perfectly.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it would be nice if we all learned a little bit more about a subject than a 10-second video.
100%.
I think that would be good for us as a group and stopped worrying about our nasolabial folds. Okay. That was a long chat. Thank you, honeys, for listening. I really, really appreciate it. If you want to ask any questions, you can go to askthepodcass@gmail.com. And
any kind of question.
Any kind of question. Doesn't have to be a relationship. It can be about anything.
We love it all.
Anything you want to hear me yap about, anything you're curious about, let's chat about it. I don't know that I'll have the right advice, but you bet your ass I'll have some type of advice. So see if it works. And I hope you have a great week. Take care. Bye. No more.